I'm Evan, and this is another board meeting, and we have here.
And I'm Robert from Blue Planet Surf.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about sponsorship. So a lot of people ask me about sponsorship, like how do you get sponsors? My kid is, pretty good, or I'm pretty good, and so on. So I thought, why don't we talk about it with someone who actually sponsors people, right? So when somebody, what are you looking for in a team rider or ambassador, and is it different?
Well, first of all, what's important to understand is that there's different levels of sponsorship, So obviously, depending on, how good someone is, their personality, how well known they are, and so on. It's like, we have like the level of just like someone that's like a good customer at the shop, and he's out there telling people about our brand. He might not be a very good stand-up paddler, but if he brings in a lot of business, we might give him like a good deal on.
Are you talking about me?
No. No. You're not even good. You're like below that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay, whatever.
Evan's like down here. No, you're actually, you get a lot of free gear here, so what are you complaining about?
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, someone like Evan that creates content and puts it out there, and people see what he does. It obviously is a good marketing asset for us. But yeah, basically, the bottom is kind of like, or the lowest level of sponsorship is basically just a discount, and then those people are kind of ambassadors, or they tell others about our brand and get more people, get their friends to come, and just they're kind of the influencers, or the that's the influencers are very important.
So they don't even have to be like super good, winning anything. It's just that they're out there talking.
Yeah, a lot of times they're not even that good. They're just good at
like
talkers.
Evangelizing, right?
They spend more on the time on the beach talking to other people than surfing, right? So, but if they like the gear and they tell a lot of people about it, then that's actually very valuable to us. And then then we have team riders that that do competitions, races, and so on. And and for those we look for how much of a following do they have on social media, how active are they at self-promotion, how many times do they get out there in the magazines and photos, posts, so how much reach do they have, kind of thing, how many people can they influence in their personality, so it's not just about the results, it's also like how many people know about them, and how many how much influence they have in the market. And usually like the regular, like the local team riders, depending on how good they are, we'll usually give them a board to use, or several boards to use, and some other equipment, and then they have that kind of for the season. At the end of the season they give it back to us. It's basically still our equipment. They can just use it for free.
So they have like a perpetual demo.
Yeah, and then when they return it, they get another one. So they always have new equipment. They basically get free equipment to use. We will turn it into a rental board or something afterwards and sell it used and so on. But that's kind of the and that's really most of our team riders are kind of at that level right now. So where they get free equipment to use, they promote us, and if we feel like that's worth it. Obviously, even though it's, we don't give away the gear, it's just on loan kind of, but obviously that costs a lot of money too, in the depreciation of the gear,
right,
and getting damaged and so on. But if we feel, hey, they're getting us more customers, getting our brand out there, people knowing about us, then that's a valuable asset to us, and that's kind of that's kind of that's the kind of team rider that we want to grow more, and also the ambassadors. And then the next level up is the really top riders that are like winning races, winning contests, getting in the magazines, getting a lot of exposure, and then they're the athletes that'll actually get paid. They get like a monthly salary, free equipment, like maybe a travel allowance, and so on. So right now we had someone like that, but I found that it wasn't worthwhile. It's maybe a good example for someone how we don't want a team rider to be.
Tell them.
Yeah, so we had someone that was a really good racer. He was doing really well, but he always expected us to pay for everything, and then basically not getting any kind of coverage from it, and then not like just not. It was just not worth it for us.
Didn't he damage stuff too? And so
he basically destroyed the equipment we gave them to use. So a lot of bad things happen, and then I was just like, okay, forget it. I'm not gonna do this anymore. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just a waste of our money, So, on the other hand, we have some people that are just, So really, what I'm looking for is like the personality of the person. How well liked they are, how much, we want someone that represents our brand too. Like we're like it's about having fun on the water, being respectful, enjoying, sharing, so on. So we don't want like self-obsessed people or someone that's it's all about me and so on. So it's definitely about sharing the stoke too, like getting new people into the sport, helping people enjoy it more and finding the right gear for them and
it's like Sam.
Like Sam.
Sam, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Just happy to do stuff,
yeah.
always helpful.
Yeah, it's just
very friendly.
Yeah, happy to share too. Like like some people are like, oh, this is my spot. I don't want anyone else to know about it. But so it's like about sharing the aloha and sharing your spot and sharing the when you do downwinders, you invite other people to come along. It's not like it's
like in the beginning,
for the fastest guys, right?
Yeah, like in the beginning when we first did stand up, it was really community based.
Getting more people into it and so on. Yeah, so that's kind of what we look for in the team riders and then also like we have a lot of distributors now. So we have an Australian distributor, Canadian distributor, at Fiji and some other places that we're getting into. So also trying to find like local team riders to represent us.
So do you do the team riders that are international through you, or are you doing it through the local kind of subsidiary, or team up, or just depends?
So we kind of expect our distributor to do that, to find local team riders, and especially kind of the ambassador team rider type thing. So but as a business, we'll provide like discounts for the distributor to be able to give away those 3 boards, or like let them use them either free or at a low cost, so that will help them with being able to have those kind of team riders. Yeah. And another thing that's really important about team riders is that they give us important feedback. Like they'll tell us this is working, this is not working. Can you change that? I want to see a board like this, or can you make a model like that? So I think that's maybe also one of the most important things, is having a good feedback from good riders that know what they're talking about, and that helps our line improve and makes our board. We can continuously improve our boards, our construction, our colors, everything is like that's a lot of that comes from the team riders.
So how would somebody approach you on this, or do you need to approach them?
Either way, but if anyone's interested in sponsorship, they can contact us through our website, parental.com. Go to the contact us page and send a little bit of information about yourself and maybe some links to your Facebook page or whatever, if you have photos or results or anything like that, and if honestly, if you're just like in a market that we're not serving right now, and maybe you're pretty good, but this might not be worth it for us to sponsor you, but in the future, who knows, because we are starting to grow our distribution, and so depending on what market you're in,
You mean like geographically what market you're in, or like, okay.
Yeah, so someone that's on Oahu for us is more valuable than someone that's, let's say, that's in Brazil, where we don't sell any boards. We don't have any way really to sell boards in Brazil. So until we have a distributor in Brazil, I'm not going to sponsor anyone in Brazil, no matter how good they are. So it depends on what the market. It has to be a market that we're in and represented, and where some people are selling our boards. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for us to sponsor someone there.
Right. I think from my perspective, I've done media for probably almost 13 years now or so, right? And then, I've done all types of media. So we had a TV show, a radio show, one of the first business podcasts, one of the first Hawaii podcasts, doing this StandUpPaddleSurf.net, which is a result of that kind of stuff. And I've had sponsorships that have ranged in the 6 figures all the way to a slight discount or something, or even just try to help people out. And what I'm finding is, on both sides, it has to make sense. So if you are somebody that is going to be looking for someone else to sponsor you, you have to first off realize what they actually want. What are they looking for, And one way to do that is you can ask them, like Robert just kind of told you, but you have to find out what are their metrics, what are they using to measure success in terms of their business. And ultimately, the primary reason why somebody would sponsor somebody else, which means giving up something from their side, whether it's time or product or something of value, is because it's going to affect sales. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? It has to affect sales in a positive manner. The more it affects sales, like, be very simple. If I came in and said, look, Robert, I suck at stand-up, I can barely swim, but I can guarantee you $2 million of sales if you sponsor me at this rate of, whatever it is, 20 grand or something like that. If I can prove that and I can deliver, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What would you say? And I'm in his range. I'm not an idiot, right?
Yeah. So I mean, totally
That
agree
makes
with
sense.
that. And I have I just thought of this thing. My friend that in the windsurfing industry, that was like years ago, but he was pretty average, and like he was competing in the pro contests and stuff like that, but he was never anywhere near the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't one of the top riders, but he was probably one of the most highest paid team riders or just in the industry. And so I kind of asked him, like, there's a lot of guys that are a lot better than you. So how are you doing this? So he said it's kind of like a credit, getting a credit card. Like when you get your first credit card, then everyone else sends you credit card offers, right? And it's like he said, like, I mean, and he really works at it. Like he'll go to trade shows, talk to the manufacturers, and he'll have like his portfolio, and he'll present himself very well. And then once you get sponsorship from one company. And he also got a lot of out of industry sponsorship. So he didn't ask the windsurf companies. He went like to like some clothing brands, to airlines, beer.
So that guy's a super good business person.
So he's just a really good self promoter, So, but he said like once he had a sponsorship deal with like say a beer company, then he can be like, oh, these guys are paying me 20 grand a year to just put the sticker on my sales. So if this can be a really good deal for you too, and then the marketing guy will go to their boss and be like, oh yeah, but he's getting 20 grand from someone else, so can we do something like that for him too? And so if you get like 5 sponsors paying you 20 grand each, then you're pretty well off, or
pretty
you're
good,
doing all right, So it was enough for him to just travel the world. And
5 sponsors paying him, if he's making 100 grand off sponsorship deals, is probably in the top 3% of all of those riders, anyways.
And that's windsurfing, which is a pretty small niche market. So and so he's probably and he was making more than that. So I mean, he was definitely in 3 figures and living kind of the rock star lifestyle a little bit, So, and that was not because he's the best team rider or the best rider or doing well in contests, just the way he presented himself and also what he did for them. Then he made sure he got photos for their ads, and they put him in the magazines because they had a nice shot of him and stuff like that. So it's not just about how it's also having the right sticker on the sail, making sure the photographer's in from the right angle, sailing for the photographer, not for just having fun and stuff like that. And so he was really working it, and that's that's what it's all about. It's not just Do
you remember Anna Kournikova?
Tennis player, yeah. Mm-hmm.
She didn't win anything, right? But she had so much marketing hype behind her, and she was super hot, so she had tons of sponsors. She'd make millions of dollars in sponsorship deals because she's marketable.
Right.
If you look at Michelle Wee in the, she has like a massive amount of sponsors, even though during periods where she didn't win, she has massive amounts of sponsors. So you ask yourself, well, how is this possible, right? Well, she's the one kind of garnering attention. And what I'm finding is that as I go to a lot of the races, I go to a lot of the contests and so on, and I'm finding that guys, I use specific people. Mo Freitas, I think, is very good example of this, because his dad Tony is out there shooting footage of Mo. Mo's out there. He's very soft spoken. He's easy to deal with. They're real cool to be around. They basically live the lifestyle, and they make it easy for the sponsors. Same thing with Connor Baxter. Same thing with Zane Schweitzer.
Zane has his brother Matt that shoots a lot of video.
Matt's shooting videos. Zane's doing stuff. He's always up. They're all media savvy. Same thing with Kai Lenny. Even though Kai Lenny's got all these sponsors, his dad and them are still out there, getting content, helping that kind of stuff out.
Actually,
it makes
that
a difference.
seems to be really important too. Is like the parents acting kind of almost like their agents and media creating media, creating social media stuff, creating videos, and also being kind of almost like agents for the, because a lot of times a young athlete won't know enough to represent himself. Like, they'll be like, oh, cool, I'm getting a free paddle. That's super cool. I mean,
let's be real. There is no Connor Baxter without Karen Baxter.
Right.
You know what I mean? There is no Kailani without his dad. And so, I mean, these people are savvy. They're very good to deal with. They know what they're doing. They've groomed their kids up.
And I think the same thing for Michelle Wee and a lot of it's a lot of times their parents that kind of push them into a young age, and then helping them kind of become professionals at it.
At some point, they can help take it over, but from a sponsor's perspective, if you already have video, you know how to edit it, you're already posting on social media, you have a following, you know how to write, you give them photos right after, you have a narrative, you're available for interviews, you are friendly, you build relationships, you're great. You know what I mean?
It's like Connor Baxter, after every race or whatever, he writes a little review about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm sure it's his mom, like, this is your homework assignment for today.
Well, he's homeschooled, right? They're homeschooled, so what else?
So you have to write about this race, and then she gets it out there to the media or whatever. Yeah, so it's homeschool.
Such a good learning lesson too for that.
It's a lesson, but without the parents, I'm sure Connor wouldn't be like sitting at home after the race writing a thing about the race if it wasn't for his mom pushing him or something.
They have very, very good parents. Very good, very savvy, very supportive parents.
So maybe you should talk to your parents about it too if you want to become
right. Or if you are the parent,
and
you're trying to figure out for the kid So the reason this conversation came up, I was in the water the other day. A friend of mine was talking about whether I had a deal on a small board for her daughter. And I said, well, isn't your daughter sponsored yet? And she said, no, she's not sponsored yet. And daughter is really good surfer. She's been in magazines. She has like 1,000 or more followers on her Instagram. She's a young teen, maybe like 12, 13-ish or so. Pretty young girl, very soft-spoken, very nice and pleasant. I said, well, this is a perfect sponsorship kind of opportunity where on the lower end, you could just have it where you would represent a brand of some sort. They would provide boards, and you'd switch it out as she grows and progresses. She has a full quiver. You don't have to own everything, but then it's a good win-win on both sides. And that kind of thing, I think, can happen all the time. If you have good behavior and are easy to deal with, then people kind of want to deal with you. The more value that you bring to the table, the better. And it's not always the best surfers. It's not always the people that win. Because, people like me, I can look at like an Ikaika Kalama, but I know I ain't riding that. I mean, I know I ain't turning I can't do that.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome, but I can't really identify with it.
But still, I think we were talking about that too, like the customer that's buying a board, they might be a beginner and they're not going to ride the pro model.
Yeah.
But still, for them, they like the idea of that they could do that when they get better or whatever.
Maybe in our minds we think we're like
they want to be associated. You want to be associated with that brand,
Yeah.
You see a guy dropping in that pipeline, and it's like, oh, this must be a good board,
Yeah.
So, it's that kind of wishful thinking or like aspirational. That's so you don't like in the catalog. We're not going to have all pictures of beginners, even though that's maybe our biggest market. So
the
we're not
funniest,
going to have guys falling in the water.
the funniest one for me was a few years ago when I would go to quite a bit of races, and I don't win. I'm like in the middle of the pack somewhere, right? And all of us guys in the middle of the pack were gauging off of each other, and they're people that I've never ever beaten. Yep. And this is before the Bullet series, SIC Bullets came out, right? So I got on an F18, and it was the Dukes race, and it was perfect conditions for it, and I beat a number of guys that I never beat. And that week, Mark Rapport calls me up and he goes, dude, what the heck is going on? I'm like, what? I don't know. He goes, what's going on over there? I go, I don't know. And he goes, I just got orders for the F18. And F18 at the time was the most expensive custom board that you could possibly get, right? It was expensive at the time. And he said, I got multiple orders for this thing just in a couple-day period. And all they told me was, whatever Evan was riding, I want that.
Yeah.
And he told me who they were. I was like, oh, I know why.
Yeah.
Because they lost that time.
Yeah.
So
and it's the middle of the pack guys that actually, that's where that's where the businesses make their money. It's not the top guys get their stuff for free, right? But that's like that, and those are like the wealthy
because we pay for
professionals,
performance.
The guys that can only go on the weekends when they have time, but they got enough money to buy the best stuff.
Well, it's like golf. You pay for performance.
Right. Exactly. I mean, yeah. So the equipment is super important in the sport too. So, yeah. I mean, it's not quite as expensive as like race cars or something like that, but when people get into it, then the cost is not as important as performance.
Same kind of enthusiasts, though. It's just like the Puyo canoes. Initially, all the guys I talked to before on the Puyos are like, how come you guys all have Puyos? They say, oh, well, so-and-so, I used to beat them by 5 minutes, and then they started beating me, so I jumped in the same boat.
Right.
And that sells boards.
Yeah, it's all about performance.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I think that if you are pretty good or you have something to offer, it makes sense to maybe have a discussion, but before you do that, kind of get your ducks in line, determine from the sponsor, like, what's in it for them. You probably already know what's in it for you, but really, in essence, nobody cares. They only care what's in it for them. So structure it in that way of what the sponsor can get out of it, and then act accordingly. Now, if you're not at the Kai Lenny, Connor Baxter level, I mean, the chance of us, getting paid huge bucks or something is probably fairly low, unless you can deliver sales along with that. Mm-hmm. But you got to start somewhere. And for most people, especially if you have kids and you're trying to figure this out, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get these kids on boards that are good for them and fit them and so on, without having to keep buying it and reselling and finding deals and all that, because it can get, can get up there. This is a good option to kind of talk about. And when I'm talking kids, I'm talking about like anyone under like 20 something.
And here's another tip for when you're asking for sponsorship, don't ideally, like in the beginning, the companies want to just give you their equipment, to use, But then if you do ask for money, I would say make it directly related to like events. Like, hey, I need. Can you pay for the entry of this event or the series? Like, I'm going to do 5 races this summer, and can you pay for the entry fees for me or whatever? So if it's directly related to something like that, then I'll be like, okay. Or it's like, or also what we do sometimes is we'll have a deal, like if they get a picture in a magazine or any kind of media coverage, then we'll pay for that. And also for some of the team riders, what we do also for team riders, if they win prize money at a race or something, we'll match that. So one of our team riders, if she wins $500, she gets another $500 from us.
I wonder if they have like a Mr. Congeniality division then, so I could win that. Can you match me on that? So because last place not coming.
So that just as long as it's directly related to results or it's kind of something measurable. To me, that's a lot more easily to digest than just like, oh, can you give me $500 a month?
To go spend
salary
at Zippies or something,
I can do
right?
whatever I want with it, right? So I'd like to see that, like, because then I don't really know what they're going to use it for. And
I think the trade stuff works good too. And you know why? It's because you're going to earn money, and then that money's going to go for something. Mm-hmm. So if you can just get that something taken care of already without having the money exchange, you just saved a step in the process.
Right.
And if it makes more sense for you, especially because then why not? Because if you're gonna have to pay for it anyways, it kind of makes more sense. But it's got to make sense for both sides. I mean, and one thing you got to realize too is what's the size of the sponsor that you're going after? Because obviously there's different sizes in terms of revenue and sales and profit for different companies. You could have somebody who's just a shaper out of their backyard, doing stuff, and that obviously guy is, I don't know, for the most part, maybe not going to be paying you thousands of dollars.
Lower budget. But, I also keep in mind that a lot of times the big companies already have like a bunch of superstars paddling for them. So versus a smaller company where you might be the main guy or the main girl that's kind of leading the brand.
Yeah.
So it depends, like sometimes it might be easier to do well with a brand that doesn't have a lot of top
I just
riders,
even saw like Starboard. So you see how Starboard has this thing where they're trying to bring on 100 new ambassadors.
Right.
Do you see that? So, companies are looking.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised by that.
It makes sense. You know why? Because it's actually less expensive to garner ambassadors that way than to just try to create all your own content, all your own distribution, and so on. Yeah, I think you get a better reach and more unique content doing it that way.
And a lot of times the ambassadors, really all it is a discounted product. So they can buy stuff at team rider prices, but the company can still making a little bit of money on it, and it's getting the product out there to the right people. So And that's something we definitely want to do, you know.
I mean, if it's a win-win situation, it makes sense.
Right.
Right? If it's win-win, it makes sense. If it's only one-sided, you may be able to cut that deal, but it's probably going to be one time. That's why, like, we've been together for a long time. I want it long term. I mean, it's got to work for both sides.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Anything else to add?
Oh, that sounds good.
As always, leave some comments down below that are positive or questions or something.
If you have input too, we always appreciate.
Yeah, some good input.
Any ideas or suggestions.
Things that we can talk about, some topics. As you can tell in our board meeting topics, it's not always about, about writing and so on. It's business, it's life, it's whatever. So.
And sometimes it drags on a little bit, but.
Yeah, and if you watched it to this far, congratulations and good job. Come in and see. Tell us when you come in. We'll talk story because
thanks for watching it.
obviously we have something in common. So thanks so much for watching us. Please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to both StandUpPaddleSurf.net and Blue Planet Surf. And we'll see you next time on another board meeting.
All right.
Aloha.
Aloha.